France, Britain, Canada, and Australia are expected to announce formal recognition of the state of Palestine at a UN conference on a two-state solution. I sat down with Riyad Mansour, Palestine's UN Ambassador, to talk about this historic watershed moment. I'm Frank Ucciardo, and you're watching TRT World One-on-One. Riyad Mansour, Ambassador from the State of Palestine, thank you for joining us here on TRT World.
Thank you very much for having me.
There have been several really pivotal events that have occurred over the last 2 weeks here at the UN, and one where 142 countries lined up to support Palestine as a state. Tell us about that day.
Well, as you said, true that there was the adoption of the New York Declaration and the annex, 18 pages attached to it, by the 142 countries in which they adopted that historic New York Declaration.
This was in the General Assembly.
In the General Assembly, which means that the countries that met and negotiated that document and approved it first by the 19 leaders of the peaceful conference on the two-state solution, which is Saudi Arabia and France, the two co-chairs, and the 17 countries be co-chairs of the 8 roundtables. So the 19 of them, and the first country was Palestine on the 30th of July, that endorsed and joined them, said that we've adopted that. They gave member states until the 5th of September to send a note responding to the note from the Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia and France, asking the member states to join them, to join the New York Declaration. More than 100 countries by the 5th joined. But then the two co-chairs came up with the idea, which is a brilliant idea, said, then why don't we put the declaration and the annex in a draft resolution so that the General Assembly to adopt it, to become the law, to become part of international law as a resolution of the General Assembly. And that was the case, and 142 countries adopted the declaration. So that is historic. So we have now a roadmap with details of action-oriented steps in order to make the two-state solution a reality.
Now, in the declaration, there was a roadmap of actions. Tell us about that.
Yes, it is a roadmap of action because everything that we did for tens of years before that, through the hundreds of resolutions adopted in the General Assembly and in the Security Council, were reaffirmation of the rights of the Palestinian people, which is wonderful. And we played a leading role in drafting these resolutions. And the General Assembly and the Security Council adopted these resolutions. Now, we said that we reached the level of moving from the reaffirmation of the principles and the details of the rights into the implementation of the rights. It required an action-oriented plan. And that's what the New York Declaration is an action-oriented plan of practical things that nations in their national capacity, in their national power, to commit to and to implement in order to force Israel to comply with international law and with the requirements of ending this illegal occupation and the state of Palestine to become sovereign independent state on the 4th of June 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. So to make the two-state solution concept a reality. So that is what's new in the adoption of the declaration of New York Declaration and its annex. Tomorrow, when we meet in the summit, the leaders will reaffirm the resolution in the General Assembly of the New York Declaration. They will add some additional practical steps of recognizing the state of Palestine, as 4 countries today committed to do so. They declared that.
The new countries signed really on to this over the past week, right? You've been gaining traction.
The 142, they adopted that in the General Assembly last week. But today, the recognition by 4 countries, UK, Canada, Australia, and Portugal, and the others that will announce the recognition tomorrow, they will be committing practical steps in the direction of the implementation. Other countries such as Spain and others, they took additional practical steps such as no weapons to Israel, no weapons from Israel, no ammunition, no planes or ships carrying weapons to Israel will be allowed to stop in the ports of Spain or the airports of Spain. Norway, they took steps to scale down and to divest of massive investments in the economy of Israel. Colombia decided to sever the diplomatic relationship and to sever all economic and trade relations with Israel. I'm just giving examples so that as these countries taking these practical steps and more steps, like Turkey, for example, decided not to have any kind of economic relationship with Israel, not to allow the Israeli aircraft to fly in their skies, and other practical steps of that nature. So when countries do that, they will be followed by other countries. And the more countries to take steps to keep squeezing Israel, that it's not Netanyahu who will decide the future of the state of Palestine, it is the Palestinian people and the world and international law and humanity and decency will force him to abandon these illusions of trying to eliminate the Palestinian people and to kick the rest of them outside of Palestine and not to allow the state of Palestine to materialize. It is not up to him, it is up to us in exercising our right to self-determination to stop him in his tracks, supported by all these massive nations who will be meeting tomorrow in New York and the day after and the day after and the day after until we finish this session, which will be the session of Palestine par excellence.
Well, let me point out also that a lot of this, really leading up to this, was provoked by failures of the Security Council to shoulder their responsibility. That recently just happened, another U.S. veto.
That's one part. The other part is the viciousness of the criminality of the leaders of Israel against what they're doing to the Palestinian people, especially in the Gaza Strip. The world cannot take these crimes that they haven't seen since World War II. So they're beginning to say enough is enough, it has to stop, it cannot continue, and they are taking measures in order to stop Israel from continuing these crimes from happening against the Palestinian people.
Well, of course, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and the former defense minister of the country for alleged crimes against the Palestinians, crimes against humanity. Do you think that President Trump should be on that warrant with them because he's complicit in enabling them?
Listen, I don't want to chew big bites that I cannot chew. I am with the ICC. The ICC decided that the warrant of arrest is against Netanyahu and the leaders with him. I respect the independence of the ICC. I cannot tell the ICC what to do, but I can defend the ICC for the decisions that they make and defend it from those who want to stop it from implementing it. And we are with the ICC in its own independent role to implement whatever they decide. And we all, as members of the Rome Statutes, the countries that are members of the ICC, we have an obligation. If Netanyahu or the leaders that the ICC issued warrants of arrest for them, it is our obligation, if they pass in our countries, to arrest them and to deliver them to the ICC so that they can put on trial to face the crimes that they committed against the Palestinian people.
Speaking of independent panels, what was your reaction when the UN Independent Panel came out and they declared conditions exist in Gaza for genocide?
Well, that is in line with how we feel the Palestinian people. We always say that we are living the hell of genocide. Some might say that how can you say that without proof? How can you say that before the ICJ litigate and come to that conclusion? Okay, fine, we have no problem in the ICJ to litigate, but the ICJ gave 3 orders to Israel to stop the possibility of genocide from taking place in Gaza. Israel did not listen to them, although Israel, as party to the Convention Against the Genocide, is obliged to implement the provisional orders of the ICJ, the orders, not the opinions. And Israel is not meeting that obligation, which is another violation of its membership in that treaty and convention. But be that as it may, we live the genocide. So when the independent commission, they say that we have evidence that genocide is taking place, from our point of view, it is confirming the hell that we are living as Palestinian people, especially those in Gaza, that genocide is taking place.
Getting back to this conference, which is really a watershed moment for the Palestinian people that has taken place here in the sidelines of the General Assembly. I understand President Abbas is going to address it via a recorded video, and this is something because of the U.S. has did everything they could to stop this from happening.
I think that this does not make sense. We have the right, according to the host country agreement, especially section 11, to be granted visas to come and participate with the leaders of the world to express our opinion on the issues that are important to us. This is peaceful, this is civilized, this is legal. And to try to stop us from doing so, thinking that the Palestinian voice will be silenced, it is backfiring on them. Everybody is now talking about Palestine. Everybody is going to listen to the statement of President Abbas on the 22nd and on the 25th, and to the statement of the Prime Minister on the 24th and on the 25th, and for other leaders of the Palestinian people. In addition, that Palestine is standing tall in the UN system, including through the presence of our delegation, and we are everywhere. We will cover all the bases, in addition to the role that our leadership will play, and everybody would be so excited to listen to Palestine, to see Palestine. We will be the Cinderella story, and we welcome it. Why not?
Ambassador Riyad Mansour, thank you for joining us here on TRT World.
Thank you very much for having me.